5, 4, 3, 2.
Tier 1 performance.
Hey guys, welcome back to Tier 1 Performance. We are back here with the Prince of Maine, the one and only Ben Wessel. Ben, go ahead and tell us where you're from, your background, and how you ended up playing baseball at college.
For sure. Thanks for having me on. So, originally from Scarborough, Maine. I graduated in 2012 from Scarborough. Ended up playing with you at URI, University of Rhode Island.
Go Ram.
Go Rhodey. And, growing up, I was lucky and privileged enough to have a dad that played baseball. He played, with the Montreal Expos and Cleveland Guardians now. But between that and then my grandfather as well was pretty high, heavily recruited prospect out of high school. So having some family background there, being able to play baseball in the sport I love, that's what wanted me to continue the family tradition, play in college and try to play after if I could.
So you're originally from Scarborough, Maine. Tell us, what was it like? Were you a multi-sport athlete throughout high school, or did you just play baseball?
Definitely no. So I grew up playing baseball, football, and basketball, and actually I did a little bit of wrestling in middle school. So we can get into that. But no, I was a three-sport athlete primarily. I ended up stopping football when I was a sophomore in high school. That was based off some recruiting recommendations, I guess, just to say, hey, you know what?
Get hurt or anything like that?
Yeah, I was a quarterback, so I played running back from, I picked up Pee Wee football in like 3rd or 4th grade, and then played running back until 7th grade, and then 7th grade football, they're like, yeah, you got a pretty good arm, why don't we try at quarterback? And then I played JV football my freshman year, and was projected to compete for the quarterback QB1 spot on the varsity team. We didn't have a very good team, but it was just, the feeling. I know you're a 3-sport athlete,
right,
so being
right.
able to be out on the gridiron with the guys you kind of grew up playing with, it's a different feeling.
It's definitely the sport I miss the most is football.
100%. So, I can actually recall like our whole playbook from 8th grade. And I'm not kidding you. We had it's Maine football, so it's not that talented, but you have a group of guys, and we ended up winning the middle school title, but that's back in the day. But yeah, it was just multiple sports, and football is definitely one of them.
I was about to say, like, I've known you for a little bit, almost a decade now, but like, I haven't really gone into or talked to you about like the recruiting process and what it was like for you. So go ahead and, for our viewers out there, like, go ahead and tell us how you got recruited, how you ended up where you're at. Like, everyone's story is different, but.
So, in 7th, so once I got to the big league diamond, 13, having my dad who was a pitcher, right, he understood his baseball IQ, and even my grandfather's are just something that collegiate level, being able to play at the pro level, obviously there's a lot of knowledge there, but at 13, the biggest thing he had me do was work out of the stretch, because in Little League, you don't have to deal with runners on base, getting leads and stuff. So yeah. 13, working out of the stretch, but the recruitment process on it, I played AAU for a team 7th and 8th grade, but it was just after school ball got done with, like, I played Legion ball and Babe Ruth, but like it was the 2 months during the summer, really July, August, September. He wanted me to continue playing before football season started, and I played on a couple AAU teams. My biggest thing was in 8th grade, my dad, just him being a little bit more advanced, was like, we need to get you, bring your name, put you out there, get people to start put you on your radar. So Absolutely. What he did was he found, like, I was right next to University of Southern Maine, up in Maine. It was 5 minutes down the road. They'd have these winter camps and stuff. They'd also do summer camps, and they were meant for, like, high school kids. He would throw my name in there, say I'm in 8th grade, and I would compete against older kids and kind of put myself on the radar initially there. And then I went up to Bates College in Maine, which is a D3 school. I got an invite because one of the coaches at the USM camp I went to said, hey, why don't you come on up? And I did a showcase there, and really that's the biggest thing for me is, you have all these different showcases, but starting small and local to get used to the feeling on how they're run. Different ones are run different ways. Correct. So, like, USM had one way. Bates is very similar. You run a 60-yard dash, you do your multiple positions, then you throw a pen, and then they have, like, a live inter-squad game.
Correct.
For me to get ahead of the game in 8th grade and do that put me in an advantage when I would go to these other showcases when I was starting to get heavily recruited, because I knew what to expect, I feel like, before other kids my age did.
Like, you think you were getting nervous when you first
the first couple I went to, yes. So I went to USM and Bates. I never really did, like, I remember so I got 2 younger brothers. Sam, I'm 29, Sam's 28, Nate's 26. Correct. Sam was my catcher. Nate played first base and pitcher. And I played, primarily pitcher, but I played outfield and first base as well. So the only recruiting video I ever did was after Bates happened. I had a really good outing there. For my age, was throwing harder than most kids and put up some good numbers. So my dad said, okay, we got some contacts that are not with the baseball program, but they're in the athletic department at Vanderbilt. And at the time, the main baseball platform for high schoolers, they had a couple kids going to Vandy that were either seniors my 8th grade year or seniors when I was a freshman in high school. And my dad made a video of me pitching and just sent it out to the athletic department. And I'll never forget this. A year after, he signed, we just went to the basic, pay to come to this camp thing. But I went out to Vandy as a freshman in my summer of my freshman year. And that video got to Corbin. And I was competing and trying to put myself on the radar at this camp. Obviously, Vandy's best of the best, right? They're top 10 program in the country. But I just to have my name out there, he came up to me and said, hey, I received your video. I feel like I've recognized you somewhere. He's actually seen me pitch in Maine because I played against a couple kids that were committed there. When I was a freshman in high school, they were seniors and we played against each other. So he went and saw a game. And then the cool thing about it, too, is those camps, especially those bigger ones, you get a lot of schools, like smaller schools in the area that go to these big-time program camps. They get invited there. Exactly, yeah. So then I started to get some letters from, like, East Tennessee, Creighton. Creighton's a bigger program, but a lot of smaller schools from, like, the North Tennessee and North that were at this camp that are like, hey, we want to follow you some more. So that's pretty much the premise of my recruiting.
So how'd you get to University of Rhode Island?
I actually...
Because it's very different, right? Like, so based on that career path, how'd you get to URI?
So I went to a camp. It was the Lynn Invitational, and we're actually, so the reason we're together this weekend is because of Blaze Whitman's wedding, right?
Yeah,
like
correct.
We're up here this weekend.
Shout out Blaze. That. Congrats, Blaze and Joe.
Yep, congrats, guys. Blaze is actually at this camp too. So I got invited to this New England prospect camp called the Lynn Invitational, and they had a bunch of schools there. I felt like I didn't have my best performance, but, I got URI's attention. URI was at the camp, and then they just came in from the first time they saw me at that camp. The next 2 years, 3 years were heavily involved, calling me once a week.
This was you went to this camp as a freshman?
As beginning of my sophomore year. It was like September, October of sophomore year of high school.
And for all those people wondering, you say you were putting up good numbers. What were you throwing? Like, where were you sitting? What were your pitches? Like, just so everyone has a frame of mind, because, everyone says I was throwing good stuff. And, like, I don't know. Like, for some people, good stuff is like, 82 as a sophomore. Or it's like 91.
So people won't believe me when I say this, because I didn't throw this hard in college. But my freshman year of high school, I hit 86. Sophomore year, so at this camp, they give you their performance ratings, and they said, I topped out at 89, was consistent 87, 88. The thing with me and growing up, because this is how my dad was pitching, he had multiple arm slots. It's God-given, in my opinion, if you can throw 95 plus. That happened to be my dad. So my dad would throw 95, 98, but he would go from over the top to three-quarter to even submarine. So he had 3 different arm slots, and for me at this camp, it was I would mix up my arm slots. So I'd kind of do over the top, and then I would, with certain pitches, certain batters, certain situations, drop down a little bit and be able to throw different ways, kind of throw hitters off.
And you stood out that way.
Stood out that way. I threw primarily two-seam. So at that time, it was two-seam, slider, 12-6 curve. I had a changeup, but I couldn't locate it to say my, you know what. But it was 4 to 5 pitch, and I would tinker a lot with being able to cut the ball, move different things. So it would
Those are all different pitches than what you threw in college.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. It's like I think Tommy John. So I had Tommy John surgery going into my freshman year and coming back from rehab on that.
Of college or high school?
College. So I ended up getting surgery my senior year of high school. I used to be able to swing it a little bit. The thing with me was I got a lot of like D2, D3 looks up in the New England area to be an outfielder. The way that I evaluated it and what my dad, and I agreed with him, he was like, you know, you can hit well in Maine, in New England, there's always going to be a better hitter somewhere else. The way I'm able to manipulate the ball, have different pitches, and what I'm able to do there with my command, there's not a lot of people that can do better than that in his opinion, so I pursued the pitching aspect, and I'm happy I did, because I think that, you know, that was what I was meant to do, was throw the baseball.
Right. I mean, being a pitcher that I played with, you know, going throughout all of our great memories together, it's very easy to see that you, I mean, you're an athlete, 3-sport athlete. We played basketball together. We thrown the football around.
Yeah.
Played baseball. It's easy to tell that you were an athlete, and like pitching wasn't the most athletic of positions that you could play.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a craft and a specialty skill that you have honed over years. Like to me, like I could throw 80. I think I taught that like 87, 86 off the mound in high school.
Yeah.
But that's a 4-seam fastball.
Right.
Straight over the plate. You get what you get. You know, I can maybe drop down submarine, throw like 80, 81, but I'm not locating. I'm not doing anything. I didn't have anybody work with me on pitching. My dad also, ironically, was one of the firm believers. He goes, "You only have so many strikes in you."
Yeah.
And he was talking about me, like, you only have so many strikes in you. And I was like, that's not really how it goes. But, you know, like, I took outfielding as my home position and my skill set now. Like, I'm a football player. I have a football player body. Yeah. And, you know, basketball was my first love. But, you know, baseball, I literally honed my craft and I honed my skills. And I really wanted to, you know, be the best outfielder I could be. And that's where I kind of differentiated from everyone else, I feel like.
To your point on that, baseball is a sport where, yes, you compete within a team, but like to be able to compete with your routine, your craft, and your approach, like how you do things, that's why I enjoyed baseball so much. Like football and basketball, yes, they're great sports too, but being able to, there's so much you can do in those sports where it's individual versus team.
Right.
And not that baseball's not a team sport, because it is. You need to have the guys behind you, but at the same time, it's like how you approach your starts, your appearances. That's where I felt like it was a little bit more excelled than those other sports that I played.
Correct. And like before we dive into, you know, our careers, mostly your career at URI, what do you think it takes for a high schooler this day and age to make it to college? Whether it's D1, D2, NAIA, D3.
Your routine. I think that's the biggest thing. I think for me, and, you know, I did a little bit after I got done playing, you know, coaching and doing instructional stuff one-on-one with kids back up in Maine and even here in Mass now. The biggest thing is having a routine, being strict with your routine, and understanding how to adapt to the routine. So, you know, everybody, you got to live your life. You got to be a kid, right? That's a big thing. I think another aspect of it is like, you know, for me, my dad we would be in Florida on family vacations. He'd be like, all right, 5:30 in the morning, let's get up and let's run the beach. So you do your 2-mile run on the beach because it was part of my throwing program day. Then it's like, okay, now we're going to do some beach workouts just to create some explosiveness. And then it's like, okay, let's throw a flat ground on the beach. He would bring his catcher's glove, and it would be 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30. People are up having a cup of coffee, trying to run and enjoy the beach. And you got Ben and his dad, you know, playing catch. I loved it though. You know, it was just a way to be better.
It's funny that you say that because, you know, I know our dads are similar in the sense of training children to be star athletes. Yeah. But I remember we were in Jesus, I don't even know why we were in St. Louis. But we were at St. Louis, you know, the Arch. Mm-hmm. I must have been 10. My brother was 7. And underneath the arch, there's those stairs, those
Yeah.
long staircase. My dad had us doing high knees up that whole entire staircase. Like, at like 10 o'clock in the morning, he's like, hey, I need you to do high knees from start to bottom.
Yeah.
And, he's clocking us, he's watching us, we're busting our butt, and he's like coaching on us and getting on us, and people are just walking by and be like,
What is going on here? This
like,
guy's-
I'm in cargo shorts and a striped t-shirt, and my brother's in like little like also jean shorts or whatever, and a shirt, and we're high knees, getting a sweat in, doing that, and like, honestly, I don't know where my mom was at this time. We're just letting this happen in public, but it's like, it's stuff like that kind of separated us. But what do you think these coaches are also looking for in high school students, in high school recruits or prospects?
I think you're, like I said before, your routine, but they're also looking for how do you deal with any sort of stress, whatever the game is, right? So if any challenging situation, how do you react to pressure? How do you react to stress? How do you react to a difficult environment? They want to see body language. The biggest thing, though, is for me, I didn't take academics as seriously as I should have. So I ended up actually learning that through college. What you put in your academics in high school, especially if you're trying to get recruited, if you work hard in the classroom and you work hard, on the field, it's showing that you're committed to both, especially if you are trying to play at the college level. That's one big thing. So having good grades, being sure that you're in the classroom, doing what's asked of you there, also being asked, what's asked of you on the athletic field. And then the routine of it, I've my experience in playing summer ball especially, so summer ball in college is something I'm sure we'll dive into, but like a lot of the coaches and stuff, and I had the privilege of playing under Dave Bush, who's the Red Sox pitching coach, so he helped out over the summer with the Sanford Mainers, and he was just like, the biggest thing that scouts are looking for, obviously it is performance, but they want to see what you do before the game. Like, are you getting there on your off days 30 minutes before and just kind of half-assing this, your running and throwing program, or are you getting there the hour and 20 minutes you need to be before game time starts, get your throwing in, you're working on stuff and getting your running in and pushing yourself in those days where people aren't expecting much of you. It's just taking control of what you can control during that day.
Oh, that's actually pretty great advice.
Yeah.
How long was he with the Mainers for?
He was there for a year. It was the year after, or the year before
me.
Got there. So there was one pitch that I couldn't get. I used to throw a circle changeup all the time.
Correct.
And so for Dave Bush, so he went into Wake Forest, played at Wake Forest. He went in as a catcher, but he had a great arm, just struggled hitting, right? So then his coaches there said, hey, why don't we try you out on the bump? Ends up getting drafted, played 12 years in the bigs, played 5 over in Japan, and then he married, his wife actually is from Maine, and so he had a house up on Sebago Lake, and just through his great place.
Love that place.
Just through his connections, ended up reaching out to somebody that, to get back into the coaching world, and he helped coach over the summer. And I remember I got lit up my first 2 outings, and he was there, and for me, it was, I wanted to get better. I wanted to improve. And that's the biggest thing too, is don't ever be complacent. Continue to try to get better. So for me, I was getting lit up. I went up to him like, look, I need to figure out something to get lefties out. Right. I have success against righties. I have a hard time getting lefties out because all my pitches are going into their barrel.
Yep.
Right? So he's like, how do you throw your fastball? I show him how I grip it. He's like, why don't you try this? And he called it the Vulcan changeup. And I put the thing...
Sounds like a superpower.
Yeah, seriously. I put the thing in between my middle and my ring finger. And all he told me was, all you're doing is throwing your middle finger through the catcher's cup. Simple. Don't overthink it. Fastball mentality. Just trust your grip and throw your middle finger through the catcher's cup. And that pitch ended up changing my career a little bit, helped elevate me to be in a more competitive role with URI, competitive role with the Mainers. I went 42 innings the rest of the year without giving up a run. No. And it was because I developed that pitch, and he helped me a lot with that.
That's insane. I wish I had a similar story, but I don't. Not at Sanford, at least. Yeah. But what do you think's the best opportunity, though? Or like, what's the best opportunity for high school kids to get noticed by collegiate scouts? Like, I mean, anyone could say, like, you just got to play at this level where they're going to those games to get recruited, but it's not always that simple. Plus, it's very, very like invite only.
Yeah.
And you have to be at a certain level
to
be there. So, like, what do you think is the best opportunity for not your typical high school player, but a high school player that's got potential, talent, and is serious about making it to the next level? Like,
yeah.
How do you get noticed?
So I think getting yourself out on video, and you can actually, there's a lot of kids that I've helped with. If you go to University of Rhode Island, you click on their athletics program, don't be blowing up coaches because they may, not respond if you keep sending them something every single day. But being able to find an email address on there, just say, hey, check out my link here. I think that's one way. I think getting out in front of these showcases, and not the big showcases, do the little ones. The college baseball community talks.
Yeah, a lot of it's word of mouth.
Everybody speaks to everybody, and that's just how baseball is. So if you're able to go to a local showcase, and whether, having a little bit of background, doing your research on wherever you're going. So, like, for me, it was at Bates College. Bates is a very good academic school. My dad had me study, like, what they're known for academically and how their athletic program was.
Right.
Starting off small so you can go word of mouth and potentially be invited to the big ones. It's all based on performance, but just getting yourself out there in these showcases and putting yourself out there is going to be the biggest thing.
Absolutely. That's great advice. So now, to the meat and potatoes, let's dive into your collegiate career as a Ram. Let's go from start to finish. Tell us what it was like for you, what happened. Obviously, we don't have to dive into everything that happened.
I'm going to keep it short.
Yeah.
So for me, 2012 was my freshman year. Like I said, I had Tommy John July of 2012 going into my freshman year. So I redshirted first year. And the thing for me was skinny, very skinny, pretty much up until my fourth year. I couldn't break the 185-pound weight target. And as a pitcher, everybody knows the more weight you have, the more gas there is behind it. So
makes sense.
First 2 years were, the team itself, my redshirt freshman year, I think we won 11 games. Nobody likes losing, especially me. I think you know how competitive I am. And I think the biggest thing for us in our classes at URI was we had a great group of guys around us that we couldn't accept losing. Yes, some of the outcomes of the game, but like as we got more experience, more exposure to the collegiate level, because it is a faster paced game. Correct. I don't care what level you play at, where you are in the country. There is an adjustment period to the college level, especially at the D1, where the game is a little bit faster. So my redshirt freshman year, I was the weekday starter. So, the number 4 or 5 guy in the pitching rotation. Usually you have your studs the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Had some success there. I think, if you were to look at my statistics, a lot of it was we would go on our spring trips, play these bigger time schools, come out of mid-relief, and didn't realize, like, oh, these guys have been here before. These guys, I can't just throw an 0-0 fastball down the middle to get ahead like I used to. I got to,
you got to locate it.
Got to locate it, but at the same time, it's just trust in my stuff and really developing both sides, all quadrants of the plate. Anyways, it was a good experience my freshman year just to get used to the speed of the game. Came back my redshirt sophomore year, weekday starter again, got more rotation as I'd pitch on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, for example, and then I'd be first out of the pen Saturday, Sunday. And then my redshirt junior year, I had the opportunity to compete for a weekend job. We had some seniors and some upperclassmen that were on the weekdays, my freshman, sophomore.
This was my freshman year as well.
Your true freshman.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was... I got the call. It was a great year. We won the conference.
No, we lost.
Oh, we lost. We lost.
Championship.
We lost to VCU.
VCU at GW.
Yep. So, I played. I did okay. For me, it was again still trying to develop a pitch that got lefties out, and I was struggling at that time. We were projected to finish last, and that's when Coach Serrato ended up taking a hold of the team. And
HBC.
Exactly, HBC. So he printed out flyers from newspaper articles and different things on the A10 projecting us to finish 13 out of 13. We started off slow, but then we got hot in conference play, which is all that matters, especially for a mid-major program. And we ended up going all the way to the championship game against VCU, who happened to win a regional and go to a super and lose 2 out of, They won the first game, then lost the next 2 to advance to Omaha. So that was a good team we played.
Yeah, no, they were stacked just like us.
Yeah, they had some guys.
Our pitching staff was super strong when I think about it. Like
Dude.
we had 2 all back-to-back All-American. We had 2 guys that ended up getting drafted.
Yeah.
We had you in relief, Johnson in relief as well.
Yeah.
Who ended up getting drafted. We had so many.
We had guys.
We had guys, yeah.
And the best thing about it was we got to compete at that level with a young core. Where, yes, we had guys that got drafted, left school early or whatever that, had the ability to go to the next level. But to have a young core in there, go to a conference championship and say, okay, for our position players at least, we're getting 7 of the 9 guys back, with guys that got competitive at-bats and games that mattered coming off the bench, where it was just like, okay, now we got a team that can make some noise next year. Obviously, you're not thinking about that during the time. You want to win every single game.
Right.
But to have those guys come back, that gave us an advantage for the year after.
Yeah, I feel like we had all of our seniors contribute greatly, but it wasn't like overflooding with seniors. We had like a lot of us freshmen played, and we had a lot of our sophomores start.
Yeah.
So, and then you bring those guys back, you go to those juniors and sophomores, and then those seniors are now gone, but our juniors came in and just stepped up, and then we ended up winning it all the next year.
100%.
Right? So let's go into your redshirt senior year.
Yeah, so going in, so I think this is redshirt junior technically because I got hurt my 5th year. So the 4th year. Whatever the numbers are.
It's major was
going into that summer, that's where I had my good summer, throwing the 42 scoreless. But going into that summer, Coach Serrato calls me and he's just like, look, there's an opportunity for you to start Sunday. We need to see you have a good summer, and we need to see you have a good fall when you come here. So just as an athlete and wanting to compete, I'm like, all right, I got to do whatever I can to get this role. My summer definitely helped me. And then going into that fall, nothing personal against Johnson and Tasso, but I was just like, I'm not letting these guys get this spot. This is mine. And one thing that changed with me was, I had some issues academically that I didn't prioritize that I should have. And at that level, as a leader, which I see myself as, and what I'm happy my peers did in 2016 and 17 because we got elected captains and whatever, but it was just like I need to demonstrate that I'm not just all talk. Like I need to go out and prove it. So
at the end of the day, you had to get it done.
Had to get it done. Ended up prioritizing what I need to prioritize, and then had a great fall. Ended up getting that Sunday job, and then to have guys like Wilson and Moyers, 2 lefties, I think that benefited me the most. So you have 2 lefties. You got a guy that can get at 90s. You got Steve, who I like to think Steve and I are very similar in our pitching styles. Steve ended up putting on some velocity towards the end, but he had balls that
Steve's is probably the best lefty manipulator I've ever.
That's what I'm saying. He had pitches where his 2-seam and his cutter, it was impossible to pick up in the box because it came from the same arm slot. It broke this much this way or this much that way, and he could throw all 4 pitches for strikes. And that's at any point, and I was like, I got to be the same way. So for me, I ended up focusing on that summer, and then I came in. But to have those 2 go before me and then have a righty, which they haven't seen all weekend other than guys out of the pen.
Correct.
But realistically, Wilson's probably going a complete game on Friday.
Yeah.
Moyers is probably going 7 minimum on a Saturday.
Correct.
And then you got a righty that comes in.
And we had 2 strong lefty relievers.
And that's
after you. And then we had our closer.
Right.
Brad Applin.
But guys like
Tyler Bars,
Johnson, Blaze had a great year his last year. But guys like that where it's just like, I could be effective because the hitters have seen something that they haven't seen in me just from the opposite side. So they're
all weekend,
and then all of a sudden I would get out on Sunday and the ball's going the opposite direction they've seen the past 2 days.
Correct.
And so I think that helped me a lot. But that was, I'll never forget it. Beginning of that year, we opened up at Florida State.
That was a disaster. That was the longest weekend I think I've ever had.
I think that we had
getting taken off ESPN.
that was tough.
Explaining that one to family. Yeah.
So my dad and my youngest brother Nate flew down, and Nate still busts my chops about it. He's like, does the whole Knowles chant, all that stuff. And but going out there, I thought it was important because as a pitcher, your responsibility is to set the tone for the game. And we got in our butt kicked that Saturday. Friday, Saturday, and honestly that Sunday. So I didn't pitch to what I expected. I think I went 4 innings, gave up 6 or 7. It wasn't what I was expecting. And then the snowball effect, it happens, right?
Right.
It was beginning of the year. We're down a ton, and
I don't think I've ever chased down so many center field home runs in my life. I was trying to tell.
I mean, those guys could hit, but
every single one, like batters 1 through 21, their third strings were popping bombs over the circus. And if you guys know what Florida State, then you see their field. There's usually like a big circus behind them. Mm-hmm. Is it a circus?
It's like a circus tent.
It's like circus tent, like some carnival looking thing. And I mean, I was just like every other batter, I'm beelining it, trying to scale a wall, catch a ball. By the way, never caught one. Never robbed one. I thought I would have had a couple at least to make a highlight, but no, it was just. I mean, I'm talking a little bit of trash about my pitchers, but it's not like I hit a home run either. I did not hit any bombs. Florida State was really good. I think they made it to the Super Regional.
I think they did too, but for us to be a mid-major, go down and play teams like that, that's one reason I chose URI is based on their level of competition beginning of the year. But to be able to pitch in that, and I think one thing that what I remember of that year was, and this isn't to toot my own horn, but we had a lot of guys where the body language, including myself, was just low that Sunday, and it's the first series of the year.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was a little bit of a psycho and still am, but it was like I ended up getting on, it was the 6th or 7th inning, and I just felt like I needed to say something. And since then, I think that it was more to hype myself up, saying this is not going to happen again the rest of the year.
But I think that was arguably the worst beatdown we have ever gotten in a season opener. But we also went the farthest that year.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Like, we were 1 win away from a Super Regional as well. And, I mean, all the teams that we faced were ranked teams in preseason. And we're thinking, maybe we're not as good as we thought. But, as I look back on those games, first off, they're hitting pitches that are, on the black.
Yeah.
And it's just going. And, we're scoring, 5 to 6 runs a game, which is, in average, usually good enough to win any game.
Yeah.
And it's we just got beat that first 72 hours was just getting our asses kicked.
It was,
But we literally turned around, and I remember, I think my dad was in the stands, and he was talking to another father for Florida State, one of the black kids' father that played on the field. I think he was an outfielder, maybe the left fielder.
Okay.
But he goes, y'all are actually really good. We just played best. And you remember what the Florida State coach said to us? He goes, we literally couldn't have played better.
Yeah.
That opening weekend. And I thought so too. I was like, they didn't make a single error.
No.
Everyone hit. They had over 15 hits a game.
I mean, if you were to look, you would think it was a football game because it was the score.
It took us off ESPN for God's
But it was just that's another thing too is you play early in the year like that, and that helped us set up, hey, we're playing against the best of the best, so when it comes to conference play, we've seen pitching, we've seen 90 plus, we've seen guys that have, big league stuff.
We're not scared either. We're throwing strikes they hit it, fine, we'll do it again.
Not scared.
Come back at you.
The biggest thing is the conference play. We won 2 out of 3 games.
Every time.
Swept.
Every time.
Every team we played that year, I think, other than one. So I think
played. Was it VCU? No.
I think it was Fordham. I think
Fordham.
Because
Coach
Willie won, and then we lost. We lost either 1-0 or 2-1 with Steve pitching, and then I gave up 4, and we lost 5-4. So we played at Fordham earlier that year, which happened to host the A10 tourney. So that was also another advantage too. Was hey, we're coming back here. We're pitching on this place in the conference tourney, so to play there earlier in the year.
Listen, you had the championship game, right?
I did, yeah. So
yes, sir.
That was before the game. I was all jacked up and couldn't throw a strike in the bullpen, and then it helped to get 16 runs from some offense to let me.
It was that game that everyone in our starting lineup had a home run.
Yeah,
because I think Sammy I had a home run, and then Lawrence, I think he was the last guy.
Yeah.
just crushed one over the fence. Left field fence. It was beautiful.
It was like, that was a game where we played Davidson, and for some reason, I've pitched really well against Davidson, but Davidson had some guys.
They had some swingers.
They had some guys that could hit. They had some guys that could
Lefties,
pitch. That's another thing. We were able to get the 1 seed, so we had that bye, and then we had our All-American go out versus another team's number 2. So to get that 1 seed was a big help. But no, that game, after my bullpen, I was like, all right, I don't care. I'm just going to let it rip. And my stuff started working when I just, not thinking about it, just throwing with me and Chase. I think Chase was catching, and Chase, great catcher, helped me out a lot with that. Same with Cardella. But it was just him and I out there. End up going 7, come out of the game, and we end up winning like 16-2, something like that.
Short of an ass.
Yeah,
I remember, and I remember like us getting our butts whipped in Florida, just taking that to like heart.
Yeah,
and then like we ended up playing Brown at home, and I think we were beating them like 22-1, and it was like the 7th inning, and like we're not stealing, but we're still getting hits, or like some of us might be stealing. Coach gave us the green light, but it doesn't matter because like they're calling it out Bush League. But bro, at the end of the day, when we were on ESPN2 playing Florida State, they're hitting home runs, running doubles, triples. They weren't stopping at first base after they hit it off the wall.
No.
Like they're gonna play a game. Like if you want to do something, stop us.
Exactly.
And so when Brown started screaming that at us, like that's Bush League, and I was like, and I remember, Coach Serrato screaming like, then do something about it. To the other team. And I was like, absolutely, because, we were on TV and we got embarrassed and they did not apologize.
No.
They didn't hold back or nothing. And I was like, it's a freaking game.
And I mean, at the collegiate level, that's the way the game's supposed to be played.
Exactly. I mean, now you got run rules, right?
Right.
Which is a little bit different.
A little bit different.
But honestly, if you can't stop me, I'm going to keep going. 100%.
Right.
Step on their throat. You never know what can happen in baseball.
Exactly.
Like Sanford, Maine, right? We were getting our butts kicked. You remember this game?
Yeah.
We were getting our butts kicked. Who was it? Who were we playing? We hated this. I hated this team.
Was it Keene?
Nah. It was like the team from like Deep Mass in Western Mass.
North Adams.
Yeah. Adams. Bro. I hate everything about North Adams. Not like the people of North Adams themselves, but like the team that the players that were there. I hated the drive. It was like a 4.5-hour drive for a summer ball game, which is absolutely ridiculous in my eyes. Yeah. And then we're playing at like a choppy dirt field.
Dude.
Also, so let's get back to the story. They're literally beating the crap out of us. I think it's like 12-2. We're down 10 in the last 2 innings, last inning, and we come all the way back and beat them. There's a lot of more dramatic stuff that probably shouldn't be said on here, but we came all the way back, and you never know. So just to emphasize my point, there's no such thing as showing mercy to an opponent in any sport, whether it's basketball, football, baseball. Now there is such a thing as padding your stats and showboating. Sure, it's not the right way.
But
to
if
play
they're not going to hold you on first base when you're up 11-1 or 12-1, or they're not going to hold you when you're on second base even because you're up whatever the amount is.
Yeah.
I mean, that was our mentality that year.
They're going to change the way they play the game.
Exactly. It's just be who we are and be aggressive. And if we're going to get good leads and good jumps, then take full advantage of it.
Exactly. Because what are you going to, let's say, I mean, it could be a selfish reason too. Let's say you're you need 25 steals to show that you're a good base stealer. Mm-hmm. Maybe get you an option in the draft. And you're going to tell me because you're beating so-and-so's team by this much and they're not holding you. First off, if they don't hold you and you take a base, it's not even a steal.
No, yeah.
Anyway. But if they make a play on you, it is a steal.
Right.
And you're going to hold back because I don't want to be considered Bush League. That's the softest thing I've ever heard.
No.
Absolutely not.
I agree with that. And it's for us, too, I think that team that we had, even with the Mainers, but in 2016, 2017 especially, we wanted to get the next guy that stat.
Correct.
It could have been individual, and I get that, but okay, if you're on first base and the guy, we get a large lead and they're not even caring about it because we're either up or we're down, we're going to take that bag to get into scoring position. So then the guy hitting could potentially get an RBI.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
All day. That was actually one of my roles for Omar.
Right.
Ryan, right? I'm a 3-hole, almost our 4-hole, and I'm probably the 3-hole that bunted the most in ever history. You know, like, because I have enough power to put it out. I wouldn't consider myself a power hitter by any means, but I have enough power to put it out. Enough for a third baseman to respectfully be back. I can drop a drag, I can drop a sack, move the runner over, get over. Omo just drives it. He has a beautiful, beautiful lefty swing, just drives into the gap. Get an RBI, we score. My pitcher feels more comfortable on the mound.
Yeah.
We're going to win. You know, it doesn't go down as an out against me. It's a sacrifice, if anything.
Right.
You know, and then, I was always going to get mine. Like,
yeah, 100%.
I had at least 3 more ABs.
But the thing is, it's just asserting your dominance as a team, right? And, like, individually, it's like, look.
And I was bought into the team.
Exactly.
Right.
You're going to do what needs to be done. If the third baseman's going to play back, okay, that's an automatic hit. And the way you were on the base pass, it's like, you're going to get second base, and now we got some pressure on the pitcher.
Exactly.
Hang a pitch to Olmo to hit into the gap. You're scoring.
Exactly.
That's an automatic run. That happened a lot that year.
Easy. And so, looking at your pitching career, right? You went from like weekday starter to, you know, reliever, short reliever, long reliever, to Sunday guy starter, to being, you know, captain of the team. Like, what was that? How did you do that process? Like, you know, because you have to have a mental mindset, a different mindset for each scenario. Weekday game, it's different preparation, different everything. Let alone relieving, knowing you can come in at any moment. If it's an OSHA moment, like, hey, you know, so and so got hurt, or like he got beat, he got just trashed. It was a bad day for him, or like, hey, we just need you for 2 batters. Like, what was that mindset for you? And then going into, you know, being a routine Sunday guy, how did you go back and forth?
So for me, the hardest part is, like I said, routine was a big thing for me. So I'm also a type 1 diabetic. So like for me, I would go and see a diabetic nutritionist, I ended up taking a class at URI that it applies to life outside of baseball.
Yeah. I did not know this, by the way.
Time management organization. So it was called Leadership Communication was a class. And I forget the professor's name, but like I said, I had a goal of, okay, I'm going to gain 15 pounds. I want to do this, this, and this. And this class asked me, they're like, all right, write down some goals and what they're going to be. So I would meet with the professor. I'm like, how do I achieve these? They're academic, but most of them are athletic. I had a planner that was, you know, we would do in the fall and in the winter, it was, hey, 5 a.m. lifts. Like, you know what I mean? So he was like, regiment your day, write out every single week on the weekends. And I had a planner that I'd keep on me. The other aspect of it was I needed, in order to gain weight, I'd have to time, like when I'm eating my meals, when I'm eating my snacks, different things like that. I was so regimented, I would have every half hour to 15 minutes of the day scheduled from 5 a.m. to the time I sleep for a full week. Yeah. And for me, when I got into that leadership role, holding myself accountable to what I learned there, because I started to see some success by being so diligent and like to the point with it, holding myself accountable when I got in that leadership role, as well as holding other guys accountable that I felt like weren't living up to the potential that they were doing. So that was one thing too, I think, with the coaching staff that we had the last 2 to 3 years, was like, they just want to coach. They don't want to be micromanaging. And they weren't, in my opinion. What they allowed was the players to go ahead and get on top of other guys to say, hey, I don't think you're doing this enough. Whether it's in the weight room, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's on the field, it was, you have more in you. Why don't you push yourself? And that's, I think, something that comes natural to you. For me, it was like, I trust these guys enough. I got to get, you know, if I don't see that, hey, they're running these, you know, these polls that we have a timed amount of time, like, I'm going to let you know, hey, we need to do better. We need to do better. So the accountability aspect of it, I think, is what really separated us after the point. Once I got into that role, it was just,
it was easy to make that transition.
Leading. It's holding myself accountable, you know, holding the other guys accountable. But at the end of the day, it's doing what you say and not asking other guys to do stuff that you wouldn't do yourself. So that's what being a leader is you can speak to it, but you can also be it. And to be it, you know, you don't have to be a vocal leader. You got guys like Chris Hess that Chris and Mike Corrin, they wouldn't talk a lot,
No.
But Chris,
But you could see it.
I would never forget, like, Chris and Mike would be in the cage after hours working with you, with Marty, with other guys on the team. Practice be over for an hour and a half, and they're still doing tee work, they're doing soft toss work, they're doing stuff to get better. They may not yell at other guys on the field or hold them they would hold guys accountable, but they wouldn't be the vocal type. They would be, all right, I'm going to let my actions speak for itself. So.
Right. And, whether Chris viewed me as this or not, but, to me, Chris was my ultimate person to catch.
Yeah.
We had that, that ranking system we had to do the year we won it all. I didn't agree with it. I 100% understood it. And, but I will say it probably lit the biggest fire under my ass because I think I was number 2 in almost everything. Might have been number 3 because Martine might have been a slightly better hitter. But, I was number 2 in everything except, overall speed. But, I was number 2 to Hess. It drove me insane. And, Hess, if you're ever watching this, get that. But, nah, just joking. I love you, dude. But, he's probably going to crack a smile. But, I don't know if you view it, but he was, the person I competed against the most at URI. Whether he knew it or not. I know he's a second baseman. Yankees, great. He probably had the prettiest right-handed swing I've ever seen. And his work ethic is compared to none. Yeah. But, me, chasing him and battling him, he made me a better player overall, and it's no one had to tell me that.
Exactly.
You know what? And I could say for everyone in our starting 9, someone was always working hard outside of the mandatory required practice, mandatory early work, the weight room. Someone was always doing something more. For pitchers, I don't know what y'all do. Y'all are POs. I thought y'all were already an anomaly to me. I'm just trying to do everything to defeat y'all. As soon as we step on campus, you're now my enemy, but as soon as we step on the field in the spring, you're my friends. Right. Family and all that, I get it. But, no one had to teach me that. And I think, being that, holding yourself accountable, being a leader, and just, at the end of the day, you have to do it. You have to do it yourself. That, I can easily see how that was able, for you, though, you were able to become, my weekday starter, my long reliever, my short reliever, my setup guy, to captain, Sunday guy, let's close out, let's sweep it all.
Yeah. You know? And I think that it's going back to the weekday stuff and keep this short, it's just flipping the mentality of I got to do whatever it takes to be ready that day. And for me, my pregame routine was an hour and 23 minutes. I had it to the minute on what I needed to do, breakdown from there. That was going into college, and then all of a sudden they're asking me to be out of the bullpen on some weekends and stuff, and it's okay, if you're getting a call out of the bullpen, you have 11 minutes to get ready. So then understanding, okay, I got to go ahead and do my tubes, do my stretch, and do my bands, get off the mound, and have a feel for at least 3 pitches through 5, have a feel for 3 of them, so when I get in the game, I can be effective. But no, there's a lot of good stuff with the mentality side of it. That's something I really bought into, and I had a lot of help from my dad and grandfather, because that's the approach side of pitching, something that they really, really honed into me when I was younger.
So let's dive a little bit darker into that, the mentality side. So we know you went through TJ twice.
Yeah, first time got Tommy John, 18-month rehab, and then my 5th year, redshirt senior year, freak accident, nobody's fault. I was really, really committed to just getting stronger and trying to work as hard as I could in the weight room, and just felt a tweak, lifting. Then I went through a pen before our opening weekend and just felt something not right.
So I wanna dive in on that. So my brother got injured and he had to deal with it a lot. The mental aspect of it, the emotional, mental, physical, working your way back, getting over that hump. It's tiring, it's draining, it's a totally enduring and almost poisoning process. How did you get through it? How did you do it the first time and then the second time?
Yeah, I think just as anybody that's an athlete, you're just very competitive. For me, I was lucky enough to have good resources around me, and even my doctor was this is going to be more mental than physical. And he's you're going to have to buy in on the mental side of this isn't going to be fixed in a day. It's going to take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. So having that understanding and having the resources around me for it, I still jumped the gun a little bit, in my opinion, because I felt so good. And the first day I got cleared, I probably went a little bit too hard than I probably should have. The mental side, though, is, it's being able to adapt to the situation that you're in. So for me, it's like, I can't throw a baseball. Okay, what can I do? I can make sure that I am working as hard as I can on this physical therapy, like to the point where I want the physical therapist to say I'm overdoing it, to tell me to pull back a little bit. Like I've always had that mentality, be the best person that I can be the best that I can at whatever I'm doing. So I was able to flip the switch to say, okay, I can't be the best pitcher, but I can be the best, because I can't pitch right now, but I can be the best teammate. I can work as hard as I possibly can in physical therapy to get back to where I need to be and where I was before.
Yeah, and I think it's easier said than done.
100%. You have to fully commit to it. So it's like, you can't just roll out. There are days where I'm just like, man, I'm in college, I'm not playing, I want to go out and have fun, but like the managing of the time and then being able to say, this is my priority. Like, I'm going to be back and do the things that I love most if I'm able to get this done these next 12 months. And
yeah,
it was a grind, but I ended up getting there and ended up getting cleared right around the 12-month mark to start throwing again. And I say 18 months, it really was probably 14, but like by the 14-month period, I'm in the middle of summer ball. I'm not playing summer ball because I'm still rehabbing, so I didn't get back on the bump until we got back to school that fall, that redshirt freshman year.
Right. So when you did get back, like, obviously you're a very different pitcher from when you were, like we talked about this earlier, from when you were in high school.
Yeah.
And the different type of pitches you had to when you were a college pitcher. Now, maybe you threw harder back when you were in high school before the TJ, but you were a craftier pitcher and a way better overall pitcher and sound pitcher himself when I was with you and I saw you pitch. So what did you learn that was of value to you, or like what were the little things that you did to become a better pitcher, even though you may not have had, maybe even though you didn't go from like, all right, now we're not canning out the side, maybe I'm working you a ground ball, I'm going 3 up, 3 down, maybe I'll mix in a strikeout, but then I'm like, I'm gonna jam this guy and he's gonna pop it up to third base.
I think my rules were first pitch strike, first 3 pitches, first out of every inning. When I came back in fall ball and came back from Tommy John, I was just like, I'm going to try to blow the doors off people like I did in high school. You get to that level, it's not Maine high school baseball anymore. Division I level, you got to be throwing 95 plus to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that I think I got lit up in the fall. I'm pretty sure I did. And I was just like, okay, how do I adjust this? And, between pitching coaches, and I would talk to my dad all the time because he was my pitching coach growing up, and he's, his rule for me growing up, even when I was throwing harder, was first pitch, first 3 pitches, first out of every inning. You do that every inning, you're bound for success. If you look at the analytical stuff, and I'm not a big analytical guy, but
can you explain that though? Like the first out of every inning, like explain it.
So when the new inning starts, so whether like when I go out there, your first pitch strike, first 3 pitches. When I mean first 3 pitches, 1-2 count. Get the guy out in 3 pitches or less. Get the guy out in 3 pitches. You never want to fall behind in an account because there's statistics out there that basically a batter or hitter's average goes up 200 points or 150 points when they're in a 2-1 count, a 3-0 count versus a 1-2 or 0-2 count.
Correct. Makes my life a hell of a lot easier.
Exactly. You know it. So for me, and the biggest thing for me was the first out, because it was always tough for me to get into a groove if I didn't get the first guy out of every inning. I think that's common for pitchers because you get a guy on base with no outs, you're automatically going into the stretch.
Yeah. And your confidence is down.
It's not so much confidence, it's more just like, okay, now I got to mix my time. Like when you're in the windup, you have a timing. You're getting the signal, you're calling your game, but you're getting the signal, you're going through your windup and going. With a runner on base with no outs, or even 1 out, you're like, okay, I got to mix my timing so this guy doesn't steal the base. I got to go through a different, you're going through the stretch, which isn't obviously not your windup, so it's just a different part of the game that I think is devalued as a pitcher. Not a lot of guys focus on that, but for me, it was that first out. If I got the first out of every inning, I knew by the third inning, if I got the first out, the first 3 innings, I was in for a good day. And it goes to show, if you look up stats with baseball, like you get the first out, first 3 pitches, and first pitch strike. you're gonna have a successful outing.
So what was different for you making that transition because you did that in high school, obviously, and you did it in college. But what was the transition? What's the difference between you doing it in high school and you doing it in college?
I had to have 3 pitches available. So
At any time.
At any time. So for me in college, especially in coming back from TJ, I ended up pitching backwards more often than I did.
Oh, dude, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm facing you in fall ball, and I'm like, all right, righty on righty. I'm gonna throw Jordan a front door slider. First pitch, get it over the plate. Right?
Just read my diary while you're at it.
First pitch slider, throw it at his front hip, let it get over the plate. If I can get that first pitch slider 0-1, okay.
I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm taking it every freaking time. It was my approach. I'm not going to deviate from it.
And that's exactly what it is. So, I think studying guys and, like, not just fall ball stuff, but, like, guys that I play against, like, in conference, my dad would give me he would look up the lineup for me, and same with URI, but, like, my dad would look up the lineup and say, hey, this guy's fastball hitter, start him off a breaking ball. Hey, this guy is a lefty that likes to pull the ball. Why don't you go sinker, change up right, arm side?
Right.
So that was the biggest thing, because in high school, right, I was throwing mid to high 80s, and I could just, no matter who was, and we had a good class that year, but I would always try to establish my fastball first. Where I started to have successes, okay, now I can throw that 0-1 slider on the front hip to a righty, have it break across the plate. That's my strike one. And then I could start the same pitch on the right-hand side, arm side, and let my sinker run into the hands. And then they either foul it off, or I'm in that 1-1 count. Okay, now I got to go back to the slider or paint with the sinker on the out-hand side to get 1-2. So that was the biggest thing from high school to college, was being able to pitch backwards and have multiple pitches that I could get for a strike on first pitch.
Right. That's getting like mental flashbacks of just the annoyance of me coming in as a freshman getting jammed on like 0-2 counts because I just saw 2 sliders in the dirt and I swung like an idiot. Because like going back in the day, like and you would literally have to throw it probably like 96, 97 black to probably get it by me. But like it was really, I learned so much in college. Like the plate's here. Catcher manipulation, 2 balls outside the plate. It can easily look like it's on the outside black, right? Or how about this? An off-speed slider, curveball, splitter, whatever, at any point on the plate for a strike. Wild. Never happened in high school. Right. Yeah. I come from a state, and I came from an era where everyone tried to blitz it by you. And I was like, I loved it because, if it's straightened over the plate, I'm going to freaking crush you. But, my summer ball team, I played with guys that threw like 100, but like coming in to URI, I'm thinking I'm the kid from Texas. I'm probably better than everyone, and like it only took literally, I think, 1 BP session. Like literally, the opening captain's practice. I see first person I see is swinging. I see Mike Horn, and I thought he was the freaking Terminator. Yeah. Doesn't break character when he laughs. No. Literally just all muscle, pure backspin, and it's the hardest hit ball off the tee with like probably swinging 40%. Right. And I was like, that's disgusting. I was like, and then I see, all these pitches. Y'all weren't blowing it by crazy, but like, when I mean like, I was like, I think he actually meant to throw it there.
Yeah. No, seriously.
I think he meant to throw it there. And then on top of that, I was like, that's got to be a ball. And then they're like, that's a strike. And I'm like, no, seriously. It's puzzling. And so it was a very big adjustment period. And like, y'all are master manipulators. And I think because you pitchers were able to establish that, and like, over time, I was able to learn and actually read y'all. I was like, this is next level. Like, I literally came into college thinking I couldn't learn anymore.
Well, I think that because when I hit in high school, I was like, I could swing it a little bit, and my whole approach was, and do not miss the fastball. So you're cutting down. You learn to cut down the plate. It's like, all right, 0-0, 1-0, 2-0. I'm looking for a fastball. Wherever you're comfortable, middle away, middle in, belt high, right? So you're cutting it down in quadrants. But I think, to your point, when you get to the college level, no matter where it is, that first pitch breaking ball, good for them. You get it over, good for you. Good for them. And then you just stick to your approach. But even in the college level, it's like you were able to adapt to it after that fall ball and just say, okay, these guys can throw multiple pitches.
It was a very hard adjustment to make. I was like, I went from thinking I'm going to easily start to I am fighting for my life.
But there's a difference between swinging at a nasty front door breaker that gets the inside of the plate versus a spinner that just kind of comes in and having to identify that.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's 100%. So like we've played with guys that have been into the high school level, that have been at the college level, that have even gone on to the pro level. Mm-hmm. What do you think separates a high school player from a college player, and what do you think separates a college player from a professional player?
Depending on position.
Let's just do pitching since that's your area of expertise.
I would say the difference between a good high school, there are throwers and there are pitchers. So the way I look at that is you can throw 90 miles an hour in high school. You'll have success there. If it doesn't have a little bit of movement to it and it's an arrow, you're going to probably get lit up your first season of college ball no matter where you are because it's coming in flat. Now, if you're able to add velo to it, that's a different story. But the multiple pitches thing, like I've said, being able to throw anything in any time, that's a big thing. Working out of the stretch, because a lot of guys that have a lot of success in high school, they're not working out of the stretch too often as a pitcher. So what I mean by that is mixing your looks with a runner on first and second base, having multiple different types of pickoffs to first base, to second base. The third thing is I used to be a guy that would purpose pitch or waste pitch, as in, hey, if I'm up 0-2, I am throwing this thing at your chin to get you off the plate so you're not diving out over my slider that I'm about to bury next pitch.
Yeah.
I think at the college level, and Greg Maddux, if you go on YouTube, Greg Maddux talks about this in length, where he thought it was ridiculous to have a setup pitch. 3 pitches or less, but you need to execute those 3 pitches. You can't just hang a slider down the middle in an 0-2 count. But if you have purpose where you're committed to saying, I am throwing this, releasing it at the catcher's cup so it breaks away from a righty or back on the back foot of a lefty, in the spot that you want, that's the difference with the college level. At the pro level, those guys, I firmly believe this. I think it's based on routine and having an understanding of what you do really well versus what you don't.
Yeah.
So at the pro level, in my opinion, it's like, all right, I'm an 88 to 91 sinker guy. I'm not going to deviate and just throw a 4-seam here that's up and in because it's 94. At the pro level, they see that. It can be the same for college too, but I think that being able to throw what you know you're good at, but to get to that point, you got to be able to understand and try new things at the college level that maybe you didn't do in high school.
Yeah.
It's a stepping ladder.
That's great. So, Ben, what do you do now? You're obviously not playing baseball anymore.
I work for UPS, so I am business development, so supply chain logistics. I got 2 brothers that are UPS drivers. My dad worked 30 years with UPS after he got done playing baseball. I didn't want to do it coming out of college, to be honest. It's technically a sales job, but it's what I've known growing up. It's actually funny, talking about like our younger days. My dad used to manage a bunch of different centers of UPS. You want to talk about pressure? In Maine during the winter, you have these big warehouses filled with UPS trucks. Nobody would work on a Sunday. My dad would have my brothers and I go in there, and you have 7 feet, full warehouse length of just open area between trucks parking on each side. We would play long toss during the winter in there, and you imagine being 13, 14 years old with a 500-foot long warehouse that's 7 feet wide, and my dad's on the other end telling me to hit him in the chest.
Better not break
anything.
From
45 feet to 300 feet. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so, but yeah, no, that's UPS is what I do now. Been in it for 3.5 years. I live with my fiance here in outside of Boston. We met in Boston and now live in Quincy. So
that's awesome, dude. Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining me today.
Appreciate
Wish you good luck. We'll have you on soon.